What's going on, draft fans? Welcome, Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast, the video show coming a day early here on our Cover One YouTube page with 12,000 subscribers, might I add. We just hit the big milestone of 12,000 subscribers. So many thanks to everybody that is subscribed to us here on YouTube, everybody that's part of our Slack channel. So if you're not on cover1.net, you're not a premium subscriber, I got to ask you, what the hell are you doing? There's tons of great insight, X's and O's breakdowns. And it's not just on the Bills. There's tons of stuff from the draft to just fantasy football now, everything that you can possibly think of. So become a premium subscriber today. Go over to cover1.net, hit the premium button, the premium content button, and you can subscribe. And you can join us for all the fun on Slack, finding us on Twitter, the whole nine. So appreciate everybody joining us on YouTube every single week as we break down now week 7. Absolutely insane. Week 7 of college football. We are more than halfway through this season. Last week was a phenomenal week 6. And with me, as always, DP Damian Parson, my man. How are we as we enter week 7 on a Friday night?
Man, coming off an explosive week 6 last weekend, just great games. I'm excited for week 7. We have some nice matchups, this week on the slate. So I'm excited to just kind of sit, relax, kick back, and watch some football.
For sure. I mean, there's some good ones. BYU Baylor is going to be a real underrated one that we won't get into detail, but maybe if we talk about an upset later. Arkansas, Auburn, Texas A&M and Missouri, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma State and Texas at noon, which is, I think, going to be a pretty fun one. Texas, Oklahoma was a lot of fun last week. I cannot believe Kennedy Brooks scored with like 2 seconds left on that rush. You don't see that. Hail Mary, sure. Little hook and ladder, sure. 50-yard touchdown from just a handoff is insane to me. And the fact that Oklahoma squeaked that game out is surprising. We talked about it though last week. Yeah. And we talked about it on the audio pod this week on Monday night during Monday Night Football that, hey, Spencer Rattler's got a decision to make. He could potentially transfer now because it seems like everything's going to Caleb Williams as the number 1 quarterback in Oklahoma, which it's going to be interesting. If you guys want to get, more information on that and how we feel about it, you can, of course, find the Cover One NFL Draft podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole 9. And you can rate, review, subscribe, join us as we break this down every Monday or Tuesday, breaking down the weekend of college football, and we break down specific positions. So we're going to break down some games now as we get week 7 going. And we're going to start at the very top, Georgia, Kentucky. I mean, the spread is huge. I love bringing up betting because I like to bet, but I also like to bring it up because I think it tells you something about the game. I think we learned a little bit about Ole Miss and Arkansas when those spreads were so big. It was like, well, they'll keep it close. They're good football teams, and they got blown out. Georgia, 21.5-point favorite here. Big number. I like Kentucky. They've impressed me. I watched their game against LSU. A lot of players that really caught my eye. Will Levis, one of those guys. Josh Paschal, the edge rusher. But this is a big number. Georgia, you said it before the show. They're on a different planet. They're playing like a specific team. I won't take your metaphor, but I'm really pumped for this game because it's got a lot of draft prospects in it, and it should be an overall good game regardless of what that spread is. But what's your take on this game, and who's a couple of names that you're watching for the 22 NFL draft?
Of course, you look at the running back position with Chris Rodriguez. Right now he's leading their team 120 carries, 768 rush yards, 5 touchdowns. He's been just a bull in a china shop almost. He's ranked 5th in the nation in rushing, 396 yards after contact, like 24 broken tackles, 42 of his carries that went for first downs. He's really good, and I'm really a big fan of his game. But it's going to be tough sledding. Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Big Jordan Davis, Adam Anderson, Nolan, those guys, that front 7 for the Georgia Bulldogs. And my metaphor, we talked about it before we got on here, they're playing like the 2000 Ravens, where offense doesn't really matter because their defense is so powerful and so overpowering and so fast, so physical. They can do pretty much whatever they want, And that's the crazy thing about it. Like they've truly come out there, they rush the passer, can play some lockdown defense in the back end, right? Stuff the
Mm-hmm.
run. They can make you one dimensional. So I'm looking at that. Kennard, I'm looking at the battle in the trenches. Kennard over, I think he's playing right tackle for them. Physical, strong individual. When he gets his hands on you, he knows how to control you, anchor, and lock you down as a rusher or a run defender. So I'm looking at that matchup. Will Levis, I think, talking about Chris Rodriguez, man, this may be the Will Levis game right now.
Mm-hmm.
1,100, 34 yards, 11 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So he's going to put the ball in harm's way just a little bit. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He has the arm talent. He trusts his arm talent. He's going to let it rip, right? So what does that mean? It means Georgia's going to be looking to be opportunistic and take their chances. If he puts it up there puts it up into harm's way, they're going to come down with the football or at least get close to it. So I'm definitely watching for that. I want the young man Pascal. I'm definitely intrigued by him as well. He's got the size, the height, weight, and everything, the frame. So I want to watch him play because, again, as I said, alluded to earlier, Georgia's offense doesn't give you too much because they don't have to right now. And Zamir White, I think he could have a good game as well, especially if they get a lead and they just go ahead and lean on him and run the rock.
For sure. Will Levis is definitely one of those guys, as we mentioned probably a couple of weeks ago. Matt Corral, maybe a QB1 statement game when he played against Arkansas, played pretty well. Didn't turn the football over, hasn't turned it over yet. Will Levis has played really well this year, has caught the eyes of a lot of people. And if he plays well here, he could catch the eyes of even more people. Defensively for Kentucky, DeAndre Square, the linebacker, is somebody that is really intriguing to me. A 6'3", 230-pound frame, moves really well. Actually played up the road here in Detroit. So kind of a local kid for me. And he plays really well in the box. I mean, he disengages his blocks. He shows the ability to move sideline to sideline a little bit. So I'm curious how he looks against a player like Zamir White. You mentioned, their offense doesn't really have to do much for Georgia. Well, I mean, Kentucky could be a true test defensively because I don't want to say they're stacked, but they play defensively sound every single game. They've got guys that just trust their technique. They play with their technique. Pascal being one of those guys. He was on the top 25 list for Senior Bowl players that could potentially just improve their draft stock and things like that. And he's had a strong season. So he's somebody that, like I said, caught my eye. He's caught your eye. He might not be real flashy. He might not be overly explosive or a great athlete. But again, he's a technician. And I love guys that have technique. And I think the NFL does too, because if you can do the basics, I can get you a little bit faster. I can get you a little bit stronger if I'm an NFL coach. But if you can't get your technique down, I can't do anything for you. But he does. He does a great job getting to heels all the time. He does a great job creating that separation with his length. So Pascal and Square defensively for Kentucky for sure are players I'm watching. Zamir White as well. And I said it last week. We mentioned it. Adam Anderson against Auburn. We kind of predicted a 2-sack performance. He didn't have any sacks in that game, but I think there's a chance he could potentially grab one here. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Will Levis isn't the most mobile quarterback. He throws some fastballs though, and he puts some heat in his passes. So it's gonna be a fun game. Again, though, the 21.5-point spread is really telling to me, and I'd probably take that number if I'm going to bet this game straight up, just because I think Georgia can handle that. But again, Kentucky, I don't want to discredit them because they'll be pretty good. So we'll see what happens. But the game that, of course, I'm going to be watching, Michigan State versus Indiana. I have to watch my Spartans play. And it brings up a question that I have to ask. It's the headline of the show today for me. And it is Kenneth Walker truly running back one? I mean, I get it. We've talked about how we don't want to go with that really as much anymore. QB1s, RB1s, etc. We're going with this tier program that we like, the pyramid scheme. And Kenneth Walker, though, I mean, he truly seems like an RB1. I mean, he's getting a lot of Heisman love. Some people are giving it, out to quarterbacks, and I get it. We still have half a season to go, but he's on pace to do some really record-setting things at Michigan State. As a transfer, it's really impressive to go from one school to another and have this type of performance. But Kenneth Walker, RB1 is Is that a legitimate claim for me?
I'm gonna tell you, man, he's made a great case for it. Right now, he's leading the nation in rushing. Mind you, he has 128 rush attempts, 913 yards, 565 has come after contact, nine rushing touchdowns. He's broken 21 tackles. He's forced 25 missed tackles. And this is all according to Sports Info Solutions. He's been stuffed on only 22 runs. Everything that this young man does is just phenomenal. And I think my comp for him was a more explosive Kareem Hunt. Incredible contact balance, footwork, vision, the ability to cut vertically and laterally on a dime and change directions. Kenneth Walker is a dude. And I love him in the pistol game. I love him on the stretch runs. It's his ability to ID the leverage of the defense, whether it's outside zone, inside zone, power. He understands where the leverage is, and he attacks that. Okay, they have a hard edge set. I'm gonna cut off of my guy's block. I'm gonna get upfield and get what I can. But watching him in open field on the 98-yard run, not only did he was patient, got through the line of scrimmage, got into the second level, but then he was met at. They tried to squeeze him to the sideline. One of the toughest things to do as a ball carrier is when they squeeze you to be able to be nifty and elusive enough to evade and not lose speed so that you can get back into full-blown running, into a full-blown running motion and hit the gas on them, right? He sets up the defender at the sideline perfectly, gives him a two-step and a hard jab to the inside, and just completely just jukes the kid out of his shoes, and then he explodes. That third gear for a guy that runs as hard as he does, man, listen, he is my set. He's one of my tier 1 backs. And I still, right now, of course, until I watch all of their tape, in the next couple months. Yeah, I put him over Breece Hall, in my tier 1 rankings. I love Kenneth Walker, and he to me is the Heisman. He's the top Heisman for me. Well, looks like we lost. Yep. We haven't had this happen in a while, guys. But talking about this specific game, I'll wait till he pops back in. With this Michigan State Indiana game as well, one of the things that I truly have noticed, when I'm pretty much watching for, I guess you could say, is who's going to be the QB for Indiana. I believe Michael Penix Jr. Russ he just can't stay healthy. So it's like, he's struggling. I think he's out again, or he's week to week with an injury to his throwing shoulder that he suffered at Penn State. So if he can't go, it's going to be Jack Tuttle. And just Indiana's offense, man. Wow, it's just not good. Not
very
good right
shaky.
Now.
Very
shaky. Shaky's being nice. It's going to be tough. And I think this game could get ugly quickly. I truly believe.
Yeah, and I mean, with the way that they've played against some of even the tougher competition on their schedule, and my apologies to anybody, I think I lost connection. I thought it was you at first, and then I think it ended up being me, of course. But yeah, I mean, Michigan State, their offense is more explosive now than it's really ever been in quite some time. Jaden Reed, the wide receiver, I've been talking him up for quite some time. Naylor has been taking steps forward every single year. Kind of had an off year last year, but has really progressed this year. So they can do a lot of things. Peyton Thorne is sneaky good and we've got some really sneaky quarterbacks to talk about, Will Levis, Kenny Pickett, all of these things. So it's really interesting to see how it's all going to shake out. But in this game, I mean, Kenneth Walker for me is just going to be the difference maker. He's been the difference maker all year long. He's running at a record pace. And, I really think if he continues this, they got this week, they got the bye, then they got Michigan. And if he can keep this up, he's got an opportunity to truly identify himself as the top running back in this group, because he, to me, has separated himself from so many different people, because we talk about a lot of different backs, a lot of different types of backs, but he seems like one of the most complete backs.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend, colleague of the show and everything, Jeff Risden, who does a lot of great work for the Browns Wire, the Lions Wire, kind of threw Kareem Hunt out there as some of his running style is
That was my
similar to
comp.
him. And I'm like, man, like that is so spot on. And he looks the part of a top running back. It wouldn't be surprising if he ends up being potentially the first one off the board, because I highly doubt he comes back to Michigan State. I'd be absolutely shocked.
Absolutely not.
I don't even think he can. I don't think he can. I don't know if he's a senior, or if he's a redshirt junior. I can't remember. But either way, I like Michigan State a lot in this game, and I think I'm not trying to be a homer, but I really think Indiana's in a world of hurt because of just they've lost some talent. Their quarterback play has been bad, so we'll see what happens. Our boy Ian Cummings over at Pro Football Network, go green, go white.
So Ian,
yes, absolutely, go green, go white.
Listen, so last week against Rutgers, right? Jalen Naylor, 5 catches, 221, 3 touchdowns. On his 3 scores, they were of the 6 yardage wise, 63, 63, 65. You don't see that where a guy scores not just one or 3 60-plus yard touchdown receptions at the wide receiver position. I'm gonna tell you straight up, man. I need Michigan State to stay undefeated, run the table, and make to the playoffs. Because what I feel like, this is just my own, just
you love me. You love me. I love you,
You're
man.
my brother,
Let's go.
man. You're my guy, right? So what I need is I need a top back in the playoffs, and a guy like Kenneth Walker. I truly believe you get him in, you get Michigan State into the playoffs. I think Kenneth Walker is one of those. He's going to have one of those like Derrick Henry playoff run type of just performances where it's like, hey, they may not win the national championship, whatever. It doesn't really matter for me, but I want to see them get in the playoffs. I want him on the big stage in the bright lights where people say, you know what, at this point in time, you can't deny me anymore. You have to acknowledge him as one of the best running backs in the game. I said on Twitter last week, Bijan Robinson may be the best cutter that I've seen in a long time at running back. Kenneth Walker's up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's music to my ears. Even if they lose 31-0 to Alabama again, I really don't care. Just get to that point, so I can just rub it in the face of everybody here in the state of Michigan. That'd be awesome. We'll see what happens, obviously. But man, you got me all amped up. I'm thinking playoffs now. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. But I will say this about Naylor and Reed. Teams have to honor Kenneth Walker so much that those guys are getting put in those one-on-one situations. And Reed is such a good athlete. He's going to fly by guys 95% of the time, it seems like. So Peyton Thorne's just got to put the ball on the money, and they're good to go. They're off to the races. And the same thing with Naylor. So, they're doing a lot of good things, and a lot of that's because, again, Kenneth Walker, even though they have an average offensive line, they're still able to make this happen. And it's all Kenny Walker. So we'll see what happens. But the next game, Pitt versus Vatek. I mean, Kenny Pickett, right? He's down for it's. I like the guy, but are we going to see a letdown here? Are we going to be let down? Is this guy with 19 touchdowns, 1 interception due to have maybe a Sam Howell-like performance against Virginia Tech? I think it's at Vatek. So is that possible?
It is possible. We know Vatek for the past couple decades continuously produce legitimate defenses. And Kenny Pickett, 5th-year senior, completing 72% of his passes, 19 to 1 touchdown interception ratio or something like that. He has been phenomenal, right? Throwing from different arm angles, from different platforms, for a guy that doesn't have the arm that's going to wow you typically, and he's maybe not the most mobile, right? Like he's not Matt Corral or Malik Willis, but he could do some things and get you some secondary reaction throws. So, Russ, for me, what does it say if Kenny Pickett goes out? Not only does he pulls off a victory, but he throws for 350, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and they win, right? What does that say for his draft stock, in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, it speaks volumes. I mean, I think he's truly got the potential to go a lot higher than many people believe. Benjamin Albright even tweeted it out that be prepared for Kenny Pickett to go much sooner than you expect today. And obviously the month of October, very early. And I don't think is going for the hot take. I think he is well connected enough to go,
Of
hey,
course.
yeah, this executive or this scout told me this about this guy. And I'm just here to kind of give you guys a heads up that this guy's making his name go around draft circles in the NFL. So I think with a great game or even a good enough game to get the win, I think he can certainly move up draft boards. And I think move up so much that maybe we're talking about him in a top 50 extent. But I think at that point, now you're saying, hey, there's some teams with some multiple first round picks, like a team like Detroit, for example. Maybe they don't take a quarterback in the top 5. Maybe they take a quarterback at 25. And maybe that player is Kenny Pickett. I don't know, but maybe he goes even sooner than that. But again, there's plenty of teams out there that I think need a quarterback, but with a good game on the road against Vatech, people are going to circle back to that and say, hey, this guy's legit. There's NFL talent on that football field and he beat them. And that's all you really need to do. Pitt beating a South Florida or whatever, it isn't really going to do much for you. Sure, It looks good on paper, but scouts are looking to see what you can truly do on that tape against some of that elite talent across the field. And I'm not saying, Vatech has 11 starters in the NFL on defense, but they got some talent there. And for sure, I think Pickett can make a name for himself. I will say for Virginia Tech offensively, Lasita Smith, Brock Hoffman. I've said it time and time again. If you are not watching these guys, you're doing yourself a disservice. I love interior offensive line play. I love offensive line play in general, but I love watching these guys. And I think they are truly two of the best interior offensive linemen in the country. And I think that they can have themselves a game against Pitt. And if they want to keep Kenny Pickett off the field, they got to be able to run the football. So look for Smith and Hoffman to create a lot of rushing lanes for Blackshear and whoever else might be running the football for the Hokies.
Yeah, and when we talk about Pitt and of course Kenny Pickett and Pittsburgh offense, when they're on the field, they have to account for that pass rush. Amari Barno, Taiwan Garbutt, they're going to push up front. Listen, Amari Barno I think he's a redshirt junior, 6'6", 235, explosive off the edge. Right now he has 2.5 sacks. He's coming off a sack against Notre Dame last week. He's caused a fumble as well. And it's just with that length, at that weight, being light, being a long levered type of pass rusher, I think he can have some success trying to in their attempt to basically throw off the rhythm of Kenny Pickett. And again, it's really gonna come to, I think they should run the ball, get the run game going a little bit, or try to at least, because again, if you allow Vatech's defensive front to pin their ears back and just rush after Kenny Pickett for 40 times, they're going to get back there. They're going to get back there. They're going to pressure him. You will see QB hits. But again, I really like. I'm not going. I don't know who I'm gonna pick in this game yet, but I'm really a fan of Kenny Pickett. And I think when I watch him, he gives me a little bit of I kind of see some Matt Ryan in him, and a little bit of Joe Burrow. Just he's so calm and cool under pressure. You don't really see him just kind of flustered. He's just even keel. That's how Joe Burrow was. And a lot of times, when you really watch Matt Ryan, and especially in his prime, but he's a little bit younger and he had more arm strength. He was the same way. It's like, doesn't really matter. I don't care. Julio's getting the ball. Rodney White's getting the ball. This guy's getting the ball. I'm gonna get the ball to my guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing Kenny Pickett against this defense for Vatech, because again, Vatech's defense. We saw what they did to Sam Howell. They made life for him hell tough. Yes. And they could do that to almost any quarterback in the nation. If you don't block them up front, and look out for those exotic blitz packages as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned some players up front for Pickett to keep an eye on and watch out for, because they're going to create pressure, clog up rushing lanes. Jermaine Waller, the safety. I don't know if you mentioned his name or not.
No, I didn't.
Safety.
I forgot.
he's got 4 interceptions. I think he's got 4 out of the last 5 games. Pickett's going to have to keep his eyes on him, and it'll be interesting to see how Pickett draws him away from, anything that he's looking at, whatever direction that might be. Maybe he's looking, at a hook or a curl route to his left, and then over the top he's got the post route. Maybe he does something in regards to that, and he's able to draw Waller down to the curl, and he's able to throw the post over the top. I'm not necessarily sure what route concepts are going to run in this game, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates through that. I will say it's interesting with Pickett, the double gloves. I mean, the Teddy Bridgewater move is very intriguing to me. It just throws me off because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, he's got 1 glove on. Oh, wait, that guy's got 2. Like, what is he doing? So it's interesting. Maybe he's got small hands, so we'll see what happens. NC State, Boston College staying in the ACC, 7:30 game. I believe Pitt Vatech was 3:30, and this is the 7:30 game, a night game. NC State, BC. Jurkovich, the quarterback, Phil Jurkovich, I don't think he's playing in this one unless I'm wrong. I've been wrong before about his status. I thought he was playing one time and he wasn't. So what are we expecting here? I mean, Pat Garwo, the running back, has been fun to watch. Obviously, our boy Zonovan Knight as well. That's the running back watch in this one. I think Knight's got to have a good game for sure. But what are you thinking as far as prospects? I know they've got a left tackle that you love. You've been on him all year long, and he's starting to climb up boards as we speak.
Yes, like this is going to be something for me, just a jealous pleasure, right? Running backs, I get to watch these guys tote the rock and make impact plays. Zonovan Knight right now, 71 carries, 462 and 3 touchdowns. Pat Garwo, 73 carries, 469 and 5 touchdowns. These guys are able to hit the chunk plays, and really impact the game in that realm. I'm excited to see this running back matchup. One guy he's a junior, but just especially watching him play and then looking at his numbers, everything starts to correlate. Devin Leary, the quarterback, man, for North Carolina State, NC State, he's 6'1", 212. Right now he's like his just to put it in context, in 2019, first year, right, 48% completion, 1,200 yards, 5.8 yards per throw and per completion, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, right? Now you fast forward 2 years, 67.4 completion percentage, 1,283, 7 yards per completion, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's literally upped his game, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love what he's able to do, but you already know, like, it's really gonna come down to just being able to protect him, get the ground game going, and Ekwonu. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he could be a guard more so in the NFL. I believe PFF had him as one of the top, if not the top, graded run blocking offensive line. He moves people. He doesn't care. He's nasty. He's physical. He's a finisher. And as a former running back, I love it. That's what I want to see. Move these guys out of my way. Clear my path, right?
Oh, yeah.
Give me a runway. So watching him is a lot of fun. I think he's still raw as a pass rusher. That's why I think you may see him kick inside early if a team drafts him. And I'm always – I don't know how you feel, but I'm always of the mindset – if I have 2 good tackles, even if they're veterans, right? Even if they're kind of up there in age, if I got 2 veteran tackles, and you see a tackle on the board that's highly ranked, if I can put him inside, I'm drafting him. So I'll put him at guard, let him play guard for a little bit. When one of those tackles either retires or walk in free agency, now I kick you outside and I put you back at your natural position. But the key to the game, get your best 5 on the field as with the offensive line. That helps everyone, the quarterback, the running back, the receivers. It helps everyone in the game. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching him in this game as well. Just watching him just open up holes for Zonovan and protect Leary. But there's a receiving matchup as well. Emeka Emezie and Zay Flowers, man.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. We always talk about the prototypes and archetypes, body types. They're 2 totally different receivers, but they win, man. And Emezie, the game a couple weeks ago against Clemson, he was giving Andrew Booth, who's a potential top 10 pick at corner, everything he could handle.
Yeah, he really can. And I mean, he caught my eye in the summer, and then just seeing it translate on the field, because you go team by team, you look at statistics, you look at players that are draft eligible, and I saw his size, and I was like, okay, 6'3", 210, 205, whatever it is, and I'm like, okay, this guy's got some good build to him. Then you look up statistically, and it's like, okay, this dude's been catching 50 balls a year for the last 4 years. Like, where have I been at? And then you watch the tape, and I'm like, hey, this guy can climb the ladder. This guy can get up the field. He can push vertically. He's a much better route runner than I was expecting with that length. And I think he'll be a better athlete than anybody's probably going to give him credit for. So, yeah, he's certainly somebody to pay attention to. And that was going to be the guy I highlight in this game, as I think he could be the difference maker. I know I said Zonovan Knight would like to see him keep rolling, but realistically, I think Emeka Emezie here could be the guy that truly makes a difference, because he could extend drives on third down. So rather than being forced with a punt, they can connect and keep going down the field because of his skill set. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I always like watching NC State. I don't know what it is. I think it's the helmets, probably my long lost love of Ryan Finley. Not afraid to throw myself under the bus, but we'll see. But it's going to be a great weekend. Baylor, BYU is another one. Texas, Oklahoma State, TCU and Oklahoma should be a fun one as well. Just a bunch of fun stuff on the docket. Clemson, Syracuse is tonight. Oregon and Cal is tonight. So we're getting started on week 7 tonight. So probably in about an hour, be sure to turn on your TVs and watch some football. But upsets, my favorite segment of the week. Any upsets in week 7 that we can think of? I mean, I don't think we're going to see it on any of the games that we're talking about, unless you want to consider Vatech over Pitt an upset. But I don't see Georgia losing Kentucky. I don't see Indiana beating Michigan State. So do you have an upset for week 7? I don't even remember who we picked last week, to be honest.
Well, I picked Oklahoma to go down to Texas, and then it nearly happened. They kept Spencer Rattler in.
That's true.
And they pulled him, and Caleb came in and just ruined my plans.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's fine, I guess. But honestly, looking at the schedule, I'm going to stick with the last game we just talked about. I'm going to pick Boston College over NC State.
Home game? I could see that for sure.
I'm definitely going with that game. I think Pat Garwell, man, I think he's going to set the tone in this game early. He's going to put the team on his back, especially because I don't believe Phil Jakovic is playing. I was trying to see if there's anything, because the reports after he had the surgery that he may sit. So he may be out for the season. They haven't given the full, he's out, but it kind of looks that way. And I think they're going to need to protect, the quarterback that kind of stepped in for him. Dennis Grosso right now, 788 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he's a senior. So, you would hope that was better, but he did not play well against Clemson.
No.
And Clemson's defense, they have some guys over there, but I just think I'm going with the big physical, powerful run game of Pat Garwell, man. I think they're gonna try to control the clock, and then Zay Flowers, if they can start getting the ball into his hands more. Like I tweeted about, he's like that Rondell Moore, Elijah Moore, just explosive, dynamic, do it all threat at receiver. So I'm gonna pick NC State to lose this one, man.
That breaks my heart, I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, I could see it. I mean, there's not much as far as like a potential upset. There's nothing like Purdue's not going to beat Iowa. Like, we're not going to see that. But I'm going to stick with what I've been saying all along. Baylor, BYU. Baylor's the favorite in this one, 5-point favorite. Honestly, I'd probably take BYU +5 if you're going to bet on it. But I will say Baylor at home. I don't know, man. I like Jerry Bohannon a little bit at quarterback. I know he struggled a little bit last week. Not last week, but the week before against OK State, he struggled a little bit, but he had a nice bounce back game against West Virginia. He had 4 touchdowns in that one, threw for almost 350 yards. I don't think BYU's got a stellar defense, so I think him at home doesn't have to travel, doesn't have to do much other than just play his game. And as long as Baylor can stop Tyler Algier a little bit, which I think that they can, I feel pretty confident in this one that Baylor can squeak out a win, even if it's, 27-24 or something like that. But yeah, if you're betting it, BYU +5, I kind of like that. But yeah, give me Baylor. And then obviously, like you said, Boston College over NC State. So that's the upsets for week 7. And then last but not least, what 2022 NFL draft prospect are you most excited for in week 7? Also, for anybody that is sitting and watching and you want to comment, go ahead and let us know who you're most excited to watch for this week. And we'll throw it up on the screen and talk about it a little bit before we sign off. But what's the prospect that you are most excited for, my man?
Man, I'm going to go to one of the games we talked about earlier, sticking with the program here. We'll go to Kentucky versus Georgia, and one of my favorite linebackers in college football, Quay Walker. I would have went Nakobe Dean, but I wanted to go Quay here. I'm excited to see him against this run game because, again, that offensive line for Kentucky is really physical. They'll lean on you, they'll move you out of the way. And they run a lot of stretch. I was watching the LSU tape. I'm not finished. I'm gonna watch some more of it tonight, and just kind of getting a grasp for that rushing attack that they have with Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And man, like they do a great job reach blocking, getting out there. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how Quay Walker is he able to slice through and shoot those gaps and get into the backfield and help Nakobe Dean and that front 7 slow down. Big Chris Rodriguez. And then watch him in the passing game as well, because they start to leak him out on delays into the flats as well to give Will Levis an easy completion and get him out in space. But Quay Walker is probably one of the more underrated linebackers in this class, so I'm really excited to watch him. And I'll give you just a bonus one for not 2022 NFL draft, but I think it's 2024 maybe.
Boy.
I think that's where
Archive
he is.
this episode. Put this one in the receipts.
Mason Smith, D tackle, D lineman from LSU, 6'6", 292, long arms, quick off the ball, plays with great physicality, knows how to stack, peek, and shed very well. And I was, like I said, watching the LSU tape. That's when he really popped to me. He's a former 5-star recruit for LSU.
Yeah.
And man, this kid can go, Russ. And so definitely keep an eye on him, over the next couple years, because he could be one of those first-round dominant type of D tackles, and not even just D tackle. I just call him a D lineman because they put him at end, they kick him down to 3 tech, they move him all over the place. Man, he's a really fun player to watch.
I'll forget, but I will go back to this show and reference it when we get to that point in 2024. Oh, yeah. For me, Mekhi Polk from Mississippi State, the wide receiver, 6'3", 200, is the player that I'm going to watch probably the most, or look forward to watching the most, as he goes to Alabama. I mean, he gets an opportunity to play against some elite talent. He's got 45 receptions on the year, 4 touchdowns. He's not getting a ton of yardage, but he's just somebody that can help move the sticks, do a lot of stuff underneath. So as he transferred over from Cal, he's now here at Mississippi State and just kind of doing his thing. And it's been fun watching him. I think he's a pretty underrated receiver in what I think is a decently deep group of wide receivers, from Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, the kid out of USC that I'm blanking on his name. Is it Drake London?
Drake London, yeah, Drake London.
I was going to say, don't they have a defensive end, Drake Jackson, right?
Drake Jack, yep.
Okay, because I was like, wait a minute. So that's on me. But Mekhi Polk is for sure the guy I'm looking forward to watching. Alabama's going to smoke him, but playing from behind, he should get plenty of opportunities to grab a couple of passes. So we'll see what happens. But our boy Ian Levis versus Georgia and Hendon Hooker versus Ole Miss are intriguing high upside quarterbacks with big opportunities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, Will Levis
Hooker's
for sure.
been playing very good football. He's been playing some very good football.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Ole Miss, their defense is shaky at times. So obviously we'll see what happens, but no, it's a great week 7. We're getting towards, we're in the middle of October already. Before we know it, it's going to be November. It'll be rivalry week. It'll be conference championship week. It'll be bowl season. And then we're into the new year. I mean, it's flying by. It truly is flying by, or we're just getting old. I don't know. Maybe both. I I don't know. It's crazy. But you guys, of course, can find us on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft, at DP underscore NFL. And be sure to show our sponsors a little bit of love. Underdog Fantasy, guys, it's the most innovative platform in the fantasy market. If you like doing prop bets, if you like learning a little bit about fantasy and trying to figure out who to play, who to start, who to sit, all that stuff, check out underdogfantasy.com. You can find them on Twitter at Underdog Fantasy. And if you're looking to maybe do some prop bets, put some parlays together for the weekend, if you haven't signed up, you can do so now by using the promo code COVER1. You receive a free $10 with a deposit of $10. So, I mean, I like when I get to put $10 in an account and I automatically end up with 20. So if you do so, you use the promo code COVER1 and that can happen for you. Check them out, Underdog Fantasy. DP, you got anything else for us on week 7?
No, I don't think so. I'm looking at my notes here. I think I'm in the clear. Just one development I'm looking for is who's going to be the running back for Minnesota. They've lost both starting running backs to season-ending injuries. First, of course, we saw, first game against Ohio State was Muhammad Ibrahim, and then you have Polk. The run, I think it's Maurice Polk. I can't remember his first name, but Polk. He came in and played well, and now he's out for the season as well, if I'm not mistaken. So just kind of something to watch for. Who's running the football for PJ Fleck this week?
Yeah, normally I would say it's tough sledding, but it's rough rowing for Minnesota right now. So
yes,
it's been rough for the Golden Gophers, but I like PJ
maybe
Fleck.
Maybe if didn't try to play Trey Lance as a safety,
it'd be a little bit different. Maybe they got a couple more prospects. Maybe do a little bit better, but
offense would be a little bit more explosive.
Tomato. Yeah, whatever. But all right, that's it. That's all we got. I appreciate everybody joining us on a YouTube for a Friday night show. Always fun. We got it out of the way, got it early. Great comments, great interaction. And of course, like I said, find us on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft, at _DP. Or at DP_NFL. Jeez Louise. I need to go have a drink. But DP, I appreciate it, man. Everybody else, have a great weekend. And we will talk to you early next week on the audio side.